What's going on, game players? How are you guys doing? I want to welcome you guys to Listener Feedback, episode number 28. And in this episode, it will be starring One Subset Tekken, who is checking in again for another week. Thank you so much, brother. And we also have Vaughn, who has left another voicemail message. And I tell you, brother, I cannot wait to get into that one. So thank you, brother, so much for being a part of the show this week. Now, you, the listeners that are listening right now, if you want to be a part of the next episode of Listener Feedback, you can do it two different ways. Either call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. Also, if you want to listen to some previously recorded episodes, all you got to do is go over to Google, type in Analog Circle Podcast over there, and it'll take you to where you need to be, and that's all it needs to be said, and enjoy yourself. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the first email, which is again coming from Mr. One Subset Tekken. So the title of his email is Remakes Are All Among Us. He says, "Hello, Kiaun. I hope all is well. Brother, as always, I'm striving and I'm surviving, my good man." He says, "I guess all are excited for the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and I'm guessing people are enjoying newly remade Tony Hawk games as well." Yes, I am, man, something just came through and it went on the microphone. Pardon me, I'm getting messages and notifications live on the doggone air. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the Legendary Edition. It's going to be excellent. Really can't wait. He says, "I'm happy just for the new eye candy on old games. I hope BioWare does it well. My question is, what other games since the PS2/OG Xbox would be deserving of the same treatment and maybe creating some new fans in the making? Being that Capcom has run through almost all of the Resident Evil titles, take that franchise off the table. Dino Crisis 1 through 3 for me could get the treatment." Oh yeah, man, I think everybody would love for that to happen. Let me see. Could get the treatment even if the third game was on Xbox. Fatal Frame is another game that comes to mind. I know it wasn't a commercial success. Well, wait a minute. Wait. Now, Fatal Frame, that is super interesting that you brought that up out of so many other games that you could have. Because shout out to Lawrence Jones. He had actually posted in the Analog Circle Facebook group that Fatal Frame is getting a remaster, the first one, but it is a huge caveat. It's going to be a pachinko machine. So, One Subset, man, brother, I know that's not exactly what you had in mind, but just the fact that Konami is doing that, maybe, just maybe, a remaster of the first one might possibly happen. Who knows? But that is an interesting choice, to say the least. So maybe that might happen in the near future. You never know, brother. Let me see. Let me continue with your email here. He says the SSX games weren't bad either. Yeah, they were fun. He says they were a lot of fun. Imagine having that on a PS5 or a Series X. Well, with that, as always, wash your face, hands, and butts, and please wear a mask. One Subset Tekken, thank you for this email, brother. It's always fantastic to hear from you. And let me tell you, man, one game that I would love to see get remastered, and I know a lot of people didn't play it, and it wasn't a critical success. It was from Disney Interactive. And it was a game called Pure. Pure was one of the most fun games I had ever played. And I'm not really into racing games like that, not at all. but having that with the ATVs and the courses were just amazing. They almost felt like roller coaster rides, so just the altitude that you would get, the tricks you could do on the ATV, the boosts, and man, that game was so much fun. I would love to see that get remastered. Like I said, once again, I know it wasn't the biggest title that was released, but for me, just being selfish, that's definitely one I would love to see get a remaster. I would say Legacy of Kain, back on the PlayStation, the OG PlayStation, Legacy of Kain, and I think that, if I'm not mistaken, what was it called? Soul Reaver? I think Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, something like that. That franchise was really, really good, and I thought that we were going to get a remaster of that. And I believe Amy Hennig was the person behind that, and she was actually behind the Uncharted franchise as well. So this was one of her early games. So yeah, Legacy of Kain, I would love to see that happen. And speaking to the point of pure, maybe even Wipeout. I mean, a brand new Wipeout. Now this is the caveat with Wipeout. I would like to see Wipeout possibly, it might be overkill, I understand, but having something like that in a PSVR, man, I can only imagine that'd be crazy. Well, you know what? Just take the PSVR out of it. Another Wipeout, I think that would be dope to have, especially with today's graphics. That joker could run at 120 frames per second with ray tracing and I mean all of the bells and whistles. So yeah, that's another one. And now this is another one I want to propose to you, One Subset Tech. And you guys know I'm not the biggest fighting game fan out there. It's very few fighters that I really, really enjoy. Marvel vs. Capcom basically being at the top of the chain, maybe Soul Calibur and Tekken. Those are like the three main ones, and I haven't played the other two in years, but I would say just to change things up a little bit, maybe bring back Bushido Blade. I mean, that one-hit kill, I'm just thinking about it with today's graphics and today's physics, where if you stab somebody in their arm or their leg and they're incapacitated, what kind of gameplay would that bring to the table? And you guys know I was so excited about that PC game, because I'm like, and I'm forgetting the name of it. I'm not going to remember. Y'all know my memory is terrible, but when I saw that, I said, good grief, could this possibly come to the consoles? So yeah, I would love to see Bushido Blade and make it so if you can get a good swipe on them, you could behead the character. Really take it to another level. Their arm is messed up and they could switch the weapon to their other arm, but you could slowly just break down the enemy, or like stab them in the leg and they're incapacitated and can't move around, and you could just really just toy with them, and it could just bring such a different dynamic to fighting games. I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't like it because it would be extremely difficult. I would kind of like that. I would actually like that. Y'all know I'm not all into the hard games and beating my head, across the doggone wall just over and over and over and over again, trying to have to, get through a level. That's really not my thing. But with fighting games, it's a little different because you got a chance. You do have a chance. So yeah, Bushido Blade, that would be dope. I would even want to see the original, and I know this has been a rumor for quite some time now, but I truly would love to see the original Metal Gear get remastered, because that was such a masterpiece, man. That boss fight with Psycho Mantis, I've brought it up a zillion times on the podcast by this time, but it was just so amazing, and I think that another generation of gamers that missed out on that would really, really enjoy it. It's the stealth genre. I know that's not for everybody, but Metal Gear was just so good, man. And I would just love to see that get remastered as well. Jak and Daxter. Jack and Daxter would be another one. We heard some talk that it was going to happen, and it didn't. And I believe that was Naughty Dog back in the day. Jack and Daxter, kind of like Ratchet and Clank is now, but I'm just thinking about what Naughty Dog would be able to do. And we already found out and heard that there are no plans for them to bring back Jack and Daxter, but I would absolutely love to see that. I think that would be amazing, to have that return back to the gaming ring. And I would say Jet Set Radio as well, one subset. Jet Set Radio, give us another one. I'll take a remaster of the first one. And I know that they had it years ago, back on the Xbox Arcade, where it wasn't necessarily a remaster. They might have up-res the resolution a little bit, but they didn't do too much. But I want to see a full-blown remaster, or do a 2-pack where you have the original and the second game, but just remaster them, man. Either way, I want to see that franchise make a comeback as well. And, man, I really want that. I really want that really, really bad. Hopefully at E3, man, I've been putting a lot of hopes and dreams into E3 that I just don't think that's going to happen, but I would still love to see it if I could, And I would say one more, going to the OG Xbox, and this is where I think the VR could really, really come in handy. Even though I know Xbox isn't doing VR, I would say Steel Battalion. Steel Battalion from back in the day with that huge controller. Could you guys imagine actually piloting a mech, but you have it in VR, really being able to get the scope of how tall the mech is, how big it is, having those kind of controls, because that controller was sick. Man, that thing was incredible. Years ago, I had never seen anything like that. That's the closest thing you could get to actually piloting a mech. Now you take those controls and the pedals and all of that stuff, and then you add VR onto it. Oh my goodness, man. We're in a Robotech world, brothers and sisters. Robotech. That would be absolutely incredible. So that's just a small list from me, one subset. I really appreciated this email, brother. Taking me down memory lane a little bit with some of the games I would like to see get remastered. But as always, one subset, Tekken, it's always great to hear from you, brother. Thank you for all of your thoughts and your opinions. And brother, I truly, truly appreciate you. And hopefully, like you were able to do this week, hopefully next week you'll be able to return as well. Thank you so much, brother. So since we only had two listener feedback questions and opinions this week, I decided, well, you know what? I got to look up some gaming news so we can kind of pad out the show. So, Vaughn, I'm about to get to you in just a minute, brother, but I did want to go over this one news story really fast. So this is actually coming from Digital Trends. So, let's get into some Ubisoft news, because due to an earnings report, we have new release dates for several titles. So according to the report, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Quarantine, Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland, Far Cry 6, Riders Republic, and Roller Champion are planned to launch before March 31st of 2022, and Skull and Bones is scheduled to release between April 1st, 2022 and March 31st, 2023. So that is a long ways out. I wonder what the heck happened with Skull and Bones. This thing was shown way before Roller Champion. It was shown way, way, way before Far Cry 6. And it seems like those titles are going to be out well before Skull and Bones will even remotely be released. So that's very interesting. But I was looking forward to Skull and Bones too. So they must have really just took the whole premise of the game and threw that original idea out and must basically be starting from, I'm not going to say scratch, but could grieve, doggone near scratch. Seems like it. But anyway, Vaughn, we're going to go ahead and get into your voicemail next, brother. So, without further ado, Vaughn, go ahead and take it away.
What's up, Kiaun? It's Vaughn checking in once again this week. Following up, first of all, on the call from last week that I called in and let you know about the Crackle app and the Nintendo documentary. To answer your question, two things. The Crackle app is actually free. You can get that on whatever store you're going into for your TV, for your phones, whatever you have. It's a free app, and you can download that Nintendo documentary. And yes, definitely, they get into all the lawsuits through the years that Nintendo was involved in. They get into how Sony and them had that partnership, and then they kind of left Sony high and dry, made Sony kind of upset, and then that started the PlayStation because Sony wanted to get that revenge. So check that out. It is good. It's pretty dope. My second thing is, do you remember playing the game when the Sony PlayStation 1 first came out? There was a game called Destruction Derby. Wanted to know if you played that game, what you thought about it. I've always wanted for them to make a remake, but the closest thing we'll get is this game called Wreckfest on the Sony store. It's free. This is what reminded me of Destruction Derby. I had Wreckfest when it first came out. I think it's a very underappreciated, underrated game. If you like that derby style game, I'm not really a racing fan per se, but it's pretty dope. It's the closest thing to Destruction Derby. The graphics are excellent. So check that out. Again, it's free on the PlayStation Store, so check it out. I think you'll have fun if you haven't played that yet. And then lastly, Kiaun, as a PSVR person, my God, you have to pull that thing out of the package. I know you want to wait for the new one to come out, but the way I look at it is you're not going to really appreciate the second one until you played the first one. And it's something that you cannot describe to someone. You just have to pull out the package, set up a day for you to set everything up. It's not that difficult, really easy. They got everything numbered, but it's worth it. Once you get it and all the stuff that's in the store, free demos and all that, I think you'll really enjoy it, and I want to hear your take on the PSVR. All right, that's it for me. It's Vaughn. I'm out. Peace.
My brother Vaughn, shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you, man. Let me tell you, it's always fantastic when you hit the line, brother. It is completely and utterly appreciated. So, Vaughn, let's get into your voicemail. Now, first off, you schooled me. I didn't even know Crackle was a free app, brother. I had no idea. That's something I could definitely use out on the road. So, man, shout out to you for that, Vaughn. Man, that's how much I'm out of the loop. God dog. Secondly, talking about Nintendo and all of their lawsuits that they go over, and then how they did PlayStation or Sony at the time so dirty, going through that too, and then how you said that it upset Sony. Yeah, brother, I got to check this documentary out. I have to. Who the world knew Crackle was free? I bet everybody did except for me. So yeah, that's a done deal. I will definitely be checking that out over the weekend, Vaughn, and I will let you know, as well as everybody on the show, how I thought it was and all of that good stuff. But moving on into some other things that you were saying in your voicemail here, Vaughn. Now, you had brought up Destruction Derby. Man, that was that was like a launch title, I believe, or it was in the launch window of the original PlayStation, right, Vaughn? Because I remember years ago, I used to get, it was either two magazines. It was either EGM or it was Next Generation Magazine. Next Generation Magazine was so head and shoulders above everybody else's magazine. It was so premium. It was just, the papers almost felt like wax. It was like real glossy. So I remembered picking up a Next Generation magazine, and that was one of the games that I saw in the magazine, along with Tekken, the first Tekken that was going to be released on the PlayStation. And man, when I saw it, I said, oh, I need this game so bad. But back then, Vaughn, man, I was a teenager, brother. I was broke, so I didn't have any money. My parents, I had amazing parents. They would get me so much stuff, but I couldn't just randomly come to them and be like, hey, can I have $50 for this game or anything like that? So that didn't really happen too often. So Destruction Derby, I actually missed out on, even though I did want to play it. And the polygons at the time, thinking about that game, it was like, man, this is so realistic looking. That and Ridge Racer, it was just at the time, just something we had never seen before, Vaughn. I mean, I know brother, but in short, I never got a chance to play Destruction Derby. I thought it was a cool game. At least in premise and the way that it looked, but I can't speak on actually the gameplay of it. Now, you did say that Wreckfest is a game that actually reminded you of it. And I tell you again, Vaughn, I didn't know that Wreckfest was free because I'm very familiar with the game. If we're talking about the same game here, Vaughn, I think Wreckfest, it's a lot of destruction when it comes to the cars, right? I mean, they get dented, bent up. You can lose limbs on the car or parts. And it does look graphically very, very good, but I had no idea that it was free, brother. So that's something I gotta definitely look into, man, for sure. But I wish I could have gone into further detail about Destruction Derby, but yeah, brother, I haven't played it, bud. They're your last point, brother. And this great voicemail message, I might add, was my brother Vaughn said, Kiaun. I knew it was serious, brother, when you said, lastly, Kiaun. Man, my brother said it with authority, man. You gotta open up the PSVR. Man, brother, I tell you, man, shout out to you. Shout out to Mike J. Shout out the Glove Box. All three of you brothers have been saying for quite some time, when are you gonna open up the PSVR? Brother, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this, Vaughn, and you're right. You're right. I am waiting on the newest one to release, brother. I am, and we got some fantastic news about that, Vaughn, that we're going to be going over on Sunday about the PSVR 2. This thing is sounding absolutely incredible. Sounding amazing, brother. So we're definitely going to talk about that. But let me tell you, Vaughn, it is packed up. I'm going to email you, brother. I'm going to message you. I ain't going to air out what's going on the show, but I'm going to holler at you, brother. I'm going to hit you up and let you know what's going on with that, Vaughn, for sure. 100%, man. But, Vaughn, as always, brother, and trust me, I got games for it already. Like I said, I got Astrobot, I got Moss, I just picked up Blood and Truth, at Best Buy a couple of weeks ago, because I was like, golly, this is a game that I wanted. So picked that up. And, I got stuff ready to go, but I'm going to definitely holler at you about what's happening, brother. It's nothing crazy, anything like that. But yeah. I'm going to talk to you, my good brother. But, Vaughn, thank you again, man, for always calling into the show. Like I told you, brother, you was missed, man. For the couple of months that you weren't calling in, brother, you were greatly and sincerely missed, my good brother. So, it's great to hear your voice, man. Thank you again for calling in. And, man, I definitely look forward to hearing from you. If you can do it, call in again next week. So, thank you so much, brother. And, thank you again as well. One sub said Tekken for writing in. And if you brothers didn't write and call in, it would not have been a show pretty much this week. But with that being said, since like I said, it was you two brothers that called in and wrote in. I did make it a point to go ahead and go over, well, not go over, but find a couple of stories to go over in the episode as well. So we got a few more here that I'm going to cover, and then we're going to put a bow on this one. But in some disappointing Battlefield 6 news, and I got this from tomsguide.com, but it was confirmed by EA CEO Andrew Wilson that a multi-platform release of Battlefield 6 will happen. Now, this was confirmed during an earnings call where it was said the game will be available, quote, for both current gen and next gen as well, as will our sports titles, end of quote. So at one point in time, Battlefield 6 was being advertised as a next-gen only game, which got a lot of us excited. And granted, I'm not the biggest Battlefield fan. I'm not. I can't sit up here and act like, oh, man, I've been into the series so much, and this is going to be the one. But I will say that when EA came out and said that it was going to be next gen only, it got me excited because I was like, well, I mean, this is going to be the title where we see the power of what these next generation consoles are going to be able to bring, what they're going to be able to bring to the table, and their full, just their full capacity. And I know it's still early, so it's not going to be its full capacity, but at its full capacity as it stands right now, with the console. So when they had come out and said that, well, it's going to be available for the last gen too, man, it kind of brought me down a notch because I'm like, well, they're not going to be doing too much, going overly crazy on what they're going to be able to do because they got to make sure that it can run for the older hardware as well. So it was a bit of a letdown. I was hoping this was going to be another showpiece for the next-gen consoles and that it was going to be, it was just going to show us what is possible. And I mean, I think it's fair to say that with the PlayStation 5, and even though I don't have a next-gen console right now, I'm always looking forward to gaming being pushed forward. It's only a matter of time. Like I said, by the time June comes, I gotta have a PS5 because I want to play Ratchet and Clank on day one. So I gotta find one. I got this month and pretty much a small amount of next month to find one. So, yeah, I'm definitely on the hunt for it. But, just saying basically that it won't be next gen only is a bit of a letdown, but like I was saying, that's what I was saying. We've already seen the power of the PS5 and what next gen can be with games like Miles Morales, Ratchet and Clank, even Kena Bridge of Spirits. Even though that's not considered a AAA, game looks doggone good. Then you got Horizon, Forbidden West, so I think it's fair to say we've seen what is possible with next gen. It's just wait till about 2 or 3 years from now. It's going to be sick. Really, really excited about the future, but this was a bit of a letdown. Well, we got another story here coming from IGN, and this happened at Santa Maria College in Auckland, New Zealand, where a student asked Gabe Newell if Steam games would be ported to consoles, where after, Gabe Newell kind of hesitated for a bit, he said, and I quote, "You will have a better idea of that by the end of the year." By the end of this year. End of quote. So the only reason why I brought this story up is because I could care less about Steam games being on console, quite honestly. But it is one that stands out in my mind. And we got to go back to VR because that Half-Life Alex, oh, buddy, that looks like a surefire hit. I've heard nothing but great things about it. And I would love to see that come to the PSVR. maybe it doesn't come to the PSVR 1, but maybe PSVR 2. And just the fact that Gabe Newell said we'll, have a better idea of this by the end of the year. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll be a simple thing of nothing gets released by the end of the year. So, yeah, we know where Steam stands. Steam is still going to be, on the Steam store and not be on the console, or maybe somewhere along the line, he talks about, I don't know. Look, the only thing that I'm worried about is hopefully this at least makes the possibility of Half-Life Alyx coming to the PSVR a slight, very, very small possibility. So we'll see what happens. But moving on into, is this the last one that we got one more after this. But moving into an article I found on Nintendo Life for Donkey Kong fans. There is a rumor going around that Nintendo is resurrecting the series by bringing it in-house with development currently underway at Nintendo EDP, who are the team responsible for Super Mario Odyssey. Now, I got to say, you guys know me and Nintendo haven't gotten along in many years. But over this course of the Switch's life cycle, man, Nintendo has won me back as a fan. And one of the games to single-handedly do it was Mario Odyssey. Oh, my goodness, that game is so great. So just to hear that a team, now this is all rumors right now, so don't, take it as fact, but take it with a mustard seed of truth. But if that's the same team that's working on a new Donkey Kong, as great as Super Mario Odyssey is, it definitely gets me a little hyped up. But let me finish on. So this rumor is coming from Twitter user Lonely Goomba, who said, and I quote, "I heard an unlikely rumor that the Mario Odyssey team are working on a 3D Donkey Kong game. I think I would actually prefer that to another 3D Mario. You are crazy." End of quote. Now, this rumor was also backed by a leaker named Zippo, who said, quote, "Diddy, Cranky, and the Kremlin crew should all be returning in this installment. It sounds like this game is launching before the end of the year. An E3 announcement seems very likely." End of quote. So E3 is next month, and I mean, May is getting out of here like, good grief, like a bad habit. We already at May 13th? So we're almost halfway through this month. E3 is coming up heavy and fast, fellas. So we'll hopefully get some information there. And I would love to have another Donkey Kong game. The last Donkey Kong game I've played, though, to be fair and honest with you guys, was on the GameCube, actually. It was it the Conga game with the bongos or whatever? Donkey Kong bongos or something like that, where you actually had the controller and you had to, hit on the controller, the bongos to get Donkey Kong to move. It was a really cool game, man. I had a good time with that joint back on the GameCube. Pretty original idea, I must say. But moving on into the last and final story for this week's listener feedback, I guess, / gaming news. Let's get into some Xbox news. So Xbox's head of gaming services, Ben Decker, sat down for an interview with Games Radar where he revealed some promising info, where he said, quote, "We have 23 studios across Xbox and Bethesda working on Halo, Forza, Fallout, and a new IP that we haven't even talked about yet that is going to blow your mind. We can deliver all that into Game Pass on day one." End of quote. So here it is. Once again, E3 is among us, brothers and sisters, is here. It's close. Could this be a mic drop moment for Microsoft? This guy, I don't even know who Ben Decker is, but once again, he's the head of gaming services. He's saying that, these 23 studios that they have between Xbox and Bethesda working on all of these games, they have this new IP that they haven't talked about this going to blow our minds. Now, granted. Okay, now Microsoft has burnt me quite a few times with these E3s, man, with Phil Spencer talking about he felt very confident after seeing PlayStation's their show that they were going to be able to just bring it. Oh, yeah, we feel very confident. God dog, Phil Spencer. Brother, saying that they're going to show off the most games that they've ever shown off in any conference. And I'm like, oh, man, it's going to be great. And it happens. And I'm sitting there with the dumbfounded face. Like, did you really think this was the answer, Philly crew? Did y'all sit down and say this is gonna wow Xbox fans? Oh, man. So, yeah, I've been burnt a lot. And this guy, Ben Decker, talking about this IP is gonna blow our minds and it's brand new and they haven't talked about it. I want to get excited. I want to be like, oh, yeah, this is going to be the one. This is it. But then I just think back to the time again of these E3s that just didn't match up. Y'all remember when they were at E3 by themselves? Microsoft had the whole E3 stage to themselves. And they still messed up. They still lost E3. How is that possible? That you're the only person playing in the game and you still lose the game. How is that even? Man, that ain't even fathomable to think of something like that. But they showed the stuff that they showed and man, it wasn't a good show. So I want to be excited for what Xbox is going to have at their show. I want to really, really look forward to it. I'm still looking forward to it, but in the back of my mind, I feel like I'm going to get burned again. Feel like God doggone got E3, the PSTD up in this mother loving. That ain't the right word. I know it ain't, man. But God doggone post-traumatic stress up in here from E3. These Microsoft E3s, man. It's like, man, you get so excited and you think you're going to see something and you just get let down every time. But I digress. We got some really, this is crazy to say after I said all of that about Xbox and Microsoft, but we got some promising news coming up on Sunday. On Sunday about doggone the coalition and some things that they have going on. So all I could do is hope, man, because it's like with Sony, you know you're going to get a good show. I'm not saying every single one that Sony has done, E3 shows have been good, because let me tell you, one of the worst ones to stand out to me in recent memory for Sony was that E3 where they showed off The Last of Us Part 2 and they thought they were being all amazing and so outside the box when they had a zillion people stuck up under a tent to try to reinvent what was going on in the game, and then they had to cut the camera and it took like an hour. It didn't really take an hour, but it took a little bit of time for them to get back to the show happening. I'm like, man, this is bad. This is bad. Even though The Last of Us Part 2 turned out to be one of my favorite games of the generation, that E3 showing was bad. So I'm not saying that Sony, they always knock it out the park, because they don't. Nintendo doesn't always knock it out the park either. But that's the thing. Nintendo, yeah, they're cool. We're back on speaking terms now, but I don't really worry too much about what Nintendo does. If they do a good job, then I'm happy to see it. If they don't so much, Nintendo is like third in line on my console, list. It's like Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo is a distant third. Even though I love the Switch, it's not a diss, but that's just the way I pretty much game. And lately, PlayStation is actually kind of taking over Xbox's spot. So, anyway, I'm just saying all of that to say that hopefully we get some great news at E3 from Microsoft, and maybe, just maybe, this new IP that is supposed to blow our minds, brothers and sisters. It'll be present and it'll be a pleasant surprise to see. We'll see what happens, man. Anyway, that's it for this week for the listener feedback, and I guess some gaming news this week. And yeah, that's gonna wrap it up pretty much. But once again, I want to shout out to One Subset Tekken and Vaughn. Thank you, brothers, again for being a part of the show this week. Really, really means a lot. And yeah, man, I'm out of here. This is actually gonna be going up on Thursday morning because yeah, just had some things I had to handle yesterday, and I was tired, man. I was tired. That's like the real truth of the matter. I was tired, man. But yeah, man. So I will see you guys on Sunday, and yeah, we'll get into it then. But as always, go out there, play some games, and enjoy yourself.